welcome to PT Tips with Guests. I'm really excited about this one. Our guest today is called Patricia. Please welcome her to the show. Hello, Patricia. Welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you here. Not only because you are my person, but also because we are in the same field. We've just kind of always done the same thing. Well, apart from the architecture, which we will probably talk about later. But can you quickly introduce yourself? Tell us about you. What do you do?
Okay, so my name is Patricia Onyejekwe. I am a trained architect, but extremely passionate about education. I am Montessori certified, and I believe that education is designed to prepare children for life. Whatever skills you're trying to inculcate, whatever values you're trying to inculcate into the children or into the lives that are in your care, is to prepare them for the future and prepare them for life. So currently, I co-run an organization called Homeschool Network, Lagos. We provide home learning activities for children between 18 months to 10 years. We also provide authentic learning materials as well. We also train nannies, parents on how to function in a learning environment at home for children. Yeah, so that's basically me in a nutshell. Yes.
Wow. And you've already said the children that you work with. So do you have how many children do you have currently? How many families do you work with?
Okay, so currently I believe I work with 5 families, but I proper homeschool. Would I say proper homeschool? But homeschool in terms of length of hours, I homeschool a 2-year and 10-month-old toddler. Yes, but however, the other 4 families, I just provide learning support. Some of them are either just maybe the children have challenges with literacy, or the child is transitioning from primary school to secondary school, just preparing them for the new phase of life. Also some parents would like their children to learn life skills, help concentration, build logical reasoning skills and all that. So we use things like Sudoku and word search, depending on the ages of the children. So basically, I homeschool a 2-year-old, 10-month-old, 2-year, 10-month-old, and then I have 4 other families that I provide home learning support to.
Okay, wow. So I find I know we've discussed this off camera before, but I know that it's very different. Here in the UK, the homeschooling I do, we kind of call it homeschool nursery, because for us, school starts at 4 when the child actually goes to reception and then primary school. So what I do is I work with the children before they go to school, kind of preparing them for school. That's the kind of homeschooling I do, unless the parent decides that, they don't want the child to go to school, which I haven't had that case yet, because at 4, by law, you're supposed to be in school, unless you can prove that, you are doing the same learning at home, which I would be able to do anyway because I'm a teacher, yes. But I just wanted to know, in Nigeria, what is it like? Are a lot of people subscribing to homeschooling?
Funny enough, it's actually a growing market. I mean, parents are beginning to open their minds to the possibility of having learning happen at home. So I would say it's growing. It's not I wouldn't say it's fast paced, but I would say that a lot of people are opening their minds to understand that, hey, learning can occur anywhere once the environment is enabling. I always tell some parents, even though you send your child to proper school, you can also homeschool when they come back. Now, that homeschooling might not be focused on the math and the language. It can just be life skills. It can be, abstracting the math and the language that they have learned in school. So, for instance, my nephew, who is 4, has his mini-sized Monopoly that he usually plays when he gets back home, after he has set up, he has had his lunch, he takes a nap, and then he wakes up, and then he engages in puzzles fit for his size. Now, that is home learning. You understand? But that home learning now is not as formal as what he would learn in school. So I would say that is also on the increase, parents understanding that, hey, okay, the math and language, the science, it's important. But when they're at home, are there other forms of learning that can occur? Yes.
Yeah, wow.
Yes,
So what I'm hearing you say is, so does that mean that you believe that every child should have that home learning, like every child should be homeschooled, basically?
Oh yes, every child should be homeschooled. First of all, you need to understand the child that is in your care. So I would first of all say, don't choose schools based on which is a common thing in our country. Is okay, this is the popular school, so my child is going to go there. First of all, sit back and observe the child in your care. What is the child naturally drawn to? What are the child's abilities? What's the child good at? What's the child struggling with? And then you now say, as a parent and as a caregiver, what have I envisioned based on what I have seen? And then you now decide, will the home be able to provide this, or a learning environment outside the home? Now, if you look at it and you say, okay, a learning environment outside the home, the proper school will provide that. When she comes home, or when he comes home, learning doesn't stop. We are constantly learning. So the most important thing is, even though you decide to homeschool your children, homeschooling can occur from when the child wakes up till when they sleep. Or you go with the option of, okay, let them go to mainstream school. Also, homeschooling can occur afterwards. But at every instance, the child is learning. So it's now left for the parents to say, okay, let me create an enabling environment based on what I have observed, to ensure that at every moment of the child's life, they are learning. They are either learning family values, they are either learning how to communicate better, they are either learning problem-solving skills, how to be more independent. That's if you don't want them to be fully homeschooled. But I believe that every child experiences a form of homeschooling.
Yeah. And your company trains parents on knowing exactly what kind of things they can do with the children for homeschooling.
Exactly. Because everything is a teaching tool. So for instance, you have a chair. The child can count the number of legs. That's for children in their early childhood. The child can feel the texture, which is refining their senses, the texture of the chair. So everything can become a teaching tool. It's just left for you to say, okay, what does this child need at this time? And it's important that the parents, that's why when we set up your learning environment as a company, we always make sure that everybody is trained on how to function, with these learning tools. And one of the things I always encourage the parents, is to say, every moment is a teachable moment. And your perspective must be, this child is on their own journey. And my goal is not to get it the result now. My goal is just to journey with the child till they arrive at the best version of themselves.
Wow. Beautiful. So let's now talk about like the child who is homeschooling proper, as in who is not in regular school, who is homeschooling. Because I find that when I was in the classroom, before I started doing homeschool full-time here, I noticed that there's some children in our classroom, our large classroom, as you know, Montessori classrooms can teach like up to
large.
So there's some children I see in the classroom, and I just know that this child will thrive with one-on-one, with homeschooling, like, or even just a smaller group,
Yes.
And I just feel like telling the parent, obviously you can't do that, but I just look at the children and I know this child. What can you say to a parent? How can a parent tell that their child will benefit from homeschooling, or even just a smaller group?
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, is first of all to observe the child and look at it and say, what is best for this child? Now, the child is probably an introvert whose verbal communication skills have not fully developed, and we have worked in the classroom, and being honest, introverted children, if you are not attentive to detail, can be, slid under the carpet, So those kind of children, can be homeschooled. Those are the kind of children that I would recommend that should be homeschooled. And also children that have, very unique learning styles. So for instance, if a child is extremely artistic, so that means the child is probably only drawn to paintings, only drawn to, that child does not have a challenge. It's just left for you to create an enabling environment that will meet the child's need. Now, that kind of child in the classroom of 26 children is not going to thrive, even though, they are going to be able to interact with others, which is key for development. But however, a child like that will probably need a to be painted for it to be internalized, and that can only be achieved in a small group or at home. So I would say extremely gifted children or introverted children. And also, if you just feel like, the school is not necessarily giving me all that I feel my child needs, then you homeschool. Another option could be maybe developmentally, the child is not reaching the typical. And that's not a problem. Like I told one of my parents, don't see the challenge, just see her unique journey. And then you now say, okay, in this uniqueness of journey, can the school provide what she needs? In all honesty, if it can't, then you homeschool her. Now, do not feel that she's missing or he is missing anything. Once your perspective is right and you feel it can be achieved, then before you know it, just like, once you believe something can happen, your mind begins to open, okay, how can I achieve this? Okay, I know that she likes to pour, and I would like to teach her about land and water forms. Okay, if I let her have some time with water, I know that she'll be able to master that concept because I'm looking at her interests. Yes, so those are my thoughts.
Yeah. I completely agree. I agree with everything you've said. Now, this leads me to this child's social development, because I know that that's a main concern for parents. Once you say homeschool, they're like, my child's social development. What advice do you give your parents, and how do you handle that?
Okay, so the child I'm homeschooling right now is just transitioning into a conscious form of learning. So that has not been a major challenge for me personally. But going forward, what I had in mind was because I belong to a homeschooling tribe back in Nigeria, and basically to create play dates, where she's able to interact. So she's able to learn social cues with her age mates, not just with me, So basically what I would say is, first of all, don't believe that your child will be deprived because they are homeschooled. Because they are being homeschooled. No, not at all. Just feel out the possibilities. In your community, there might be other homeschoolers, and you can also be able to arrange play dates, where they get to socialize and interact. In Nigeria, we have like enrichment classes where the child can go for ballet class, can go for taekwondo, and those kind of things, So you can also sign the child up for those kind of activities so that they are able to, interact. And the essence of interaction is to learn behavior, how to be able to connect with people, how to build your social being, So it's not about you always being in the midst of children. It's just like I said, the moment can count. You understand? If it's twice or 3 times a day, in a week, just make it count. Just make that possible. But don't feel like the child is being deprived because they are not mixing with their peers. I do not believe that.
Yeah, I agree. And like I always say to the parents, like, let them even see they have an advantage because they're learning social development one-on-one from us. Like all the, communication techniques, they're learning it firsthand from that one-on-one experience. Then when they now go into the play groups or all the other things like that we have, social interaction, they're even more capable.
Exactly.
Had that one-on-one interaction.
Yes.
So
because they are more empowered.
Exactly. It's not something to worry about at all.
Not at all.
Yeah. Not at all. So do you think that homeschool is taking over? Do you think that homeschool is taking over?
Should I be honest or should I be professional? So there are different aspects to it, but I would honestly say that it is. However, it is more of the awareness of how children can be homeschooled, not necessarily the structure. So like I had earlier mentioned, where, your child can go to proper school and then come home and learning is still occurring. Because like like it or not, the child is learning, consciously or unconsciously. So I would say personally, in my experience, that parents' awareness of home learning is on the increase. Yeah. Parents' awareness of, especially with the lockdown, I think that was an eye-opener for a lot of families to understand that, my child is really not independent. Okay, my child is, the result says this, but really the child has not mastered. You know, like I had one of my friends in the homeschooling tribe I belong to, you know, she looked at the curriculum and they were just, you know, okay, you have done this homework, that means you understand. And she could see the learning gaps that my son really doesn't understand this, you know, and she pulled him out and started to homeschool, you know, because she said it's more important that he masters concepts than every concept is half-baked. You understand? And you know, with concepts, there's a scaffolding concept, you know, and yeah. So I would say that homeschooling, yes, is the new. However, every homeschooling for every child can be tailored to what works for you, and can be tailored to what you feel is best for the child.
Exactly. And please, can you, since we're talking about this, can you please tell them what we are partnering on?
Oh,
we are partnering together to bring something sweet for you guys. I'll let Patricia tell you.
Okay, so Homeschool Network and Head Start, we're collaborating to create a home learning training on how to equip parents and how to equip adults in the environment, how to equip teachers on how to be a homeschooler, how to homeschool uniquely, what are the basic knowledge that you need to have, what do you need to do to the learning environment to make it enabling, what are the basic materials that you can create on your own, and also what is your identity as an educator as you're in the home learning environment.
And we are so excited about it because, like, obviously I'm going to be talking from homeschooling here in the UK. Patricia is going to be talking in Nigeria. We're blending together our experiences and everything. And you have two powerhouses here, so you can only imagine what that is going to be like. It's coming soon.
Yes.
But yeah, we got a lot of work to do, Patricia and I, because this is something that we're really passionate about.
Exactly. And the market is growing in terms of, like we had earlier mentioned, you know, parents' awareness of, okay, home learning can occur, you know, my home can become a learning environment for my child, you know. So definitely we need to equip more people to be able to meet those needs, you know, to be able to have that one-on-one for children that need it, for families, for parents that feel, hey, my children will work better with a one-on-one, you know, tutor, you know. So
yeah. Patricia, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoyed this chat. And you'll be seeing more of us together because, Patricia, we have a lot of connections, a lot of things to talk about, like overlapping.
Girl, I'm with you. Thank you so much for having me, Miss Mems. I really appreciate and I feel extremely honored. Watch out.
Yes.
From us. All right. Thank you so much, Meme. All right.
Bye, people. Thank you for watching. Bye.